So, oh, are you talking? Do you want to talk? We can do the presentation together because I think we have 1 hour and 30 minutes. Because Piotr, is Piotr here? Piotr, Sonica, where are you? He's not here. Okay.
What?
But his talk is in 45 minutes. Okay, so how's everyone doing today? I mean, how is everyone doing today? That is better. That's great that you're doing well. I'm doing so-so. It was a great idea to have whiskey till 1 a.m. I think the guys sponsoring the whiskey are not even here yet. Ah, yeah, great. Thanks for sponsoring this conference and my hangover. I don't know if you have realized that we are in paradise. Like ocean and like blue water and palm trees, sand and all that. And sometimes I find myself being in the water at the beach or sitting in the surf in Sydney, and like the sun is shining, the water is nice, breeze through my aging hair, and I'm still stressed. I'm like, something is like, and I need to go back and work on my gems, and I need to pay this invoice, and I'm gonna get kicked out of my apartment like constantly. And so I think everyone in this room has this problem that we are like in paradise right now, for example, and it's like we are like stressed and stuff is going on, and so I want to start this presentation with reminding ourselves that we are in paradise. And what I usually do when I'm stressed and I don't realize that I'm in paradise is I put on sunnies. And the cool thing about sunnies is that everything looks like in a 60s action movie. So you should all put on your sunnies today and remember that you're in paradise. The other cool thing is that when you have sunglasses on, you can't really use your laptop or phone anymore, which is great, because all your phone shows is bullshit. So when you look at the iPhone, I don't even have an iPhone, but if you look at the iPhone's weather app, it will say it's raining. And you will be sitting there like, I'm in the Philippines, I'm stressed, it's raining outside. But actually, it is beautiful and you're in paradise, okay? So please think of the hashtag paradise when you feel stressed. And to fully complete this exercise of being not stressed, I would like everyone to stand up, only for 5 seconds. You stand up, when I count to 3, you inhale as much air as possible, okay? 1, 2, 3. And then you hold it for 2 seconds, and exhale. That's great, right? Okay, you can sit down. You can fall asleep now. What we already covered in this brilliant presentation is that we have to remember we are in paradise. Because I keep forgetting it. Actually, can I take off the sunglasses? It's really weird. And yeah, we already covered one of the 2 bullet points in this talk. Actually, there's way more bullet points in this, but it's going to be okay. So, this talk is, my stickers. I have stickers, by the way, if you want. This talk is fully prepared, has about 255 slides, because I have 45 minutes. But at some point I realized some stuff is missing. I should go back and fix my slides, because I was stressed. But then I realized, hey, wait a minute, you're talking about paradise, telling people to relax. So why the fuck are you stressed about your talk? So I just decided I'm going to put 2 do's into my talk and just leave it as it is. It's great. Okay. Actually, I don't have an audio cable because there's supposed to be a funeral audio playing. Because I don't know if you know that, but I have terrible news. Ruby is dead. It is very dead. It is so dead that we actually should bury Ruby and all dress in black and walk through this paradise crying. Yeah? Ruby is dead. It is so dead. It is so dead that people actually do videos about it, talking about how dead Ruby is. People blog about how dead Ruby is. People give presentations about how dead Ruby is. It's terrible. It's a bit confusing to me because Ruby is still on, I don't know, like the position 9 in the most popular programming jobs, but apparently Ruby is dead. Ruby is also, what is this again? Some, like, this is, I think, popularity, and this is also popularity, and this is where Ruby is, so it's like super popular. So it's basically dead. Like, I mean, I stopped Ruby yesterday, actually. I told Mats to start crying. And I mean, I did not know that Ruby is dead, but I learned it because I went, I mean, if you want to learn stuff, you go on Reddit, right? So, oh, this is handy, the timer. So, I went on Reddit looking for Ruby is dead, and there's like lots of posts and everything. And like the most impressive one was on a blog called PHP Blogger. And I can tell you one thing, it is not about the currency in the Philippines. And it says like Ruby is dead and you shouldn't use it because it sucks. And the most important things I learned was Ruby is no longer cool, it is JavaScript these days. So one thing to take away from this conference. And the most important thing I learned was Ruby was a hipster coder community of 20-something-year-old nerds who are now 30-something old nerds. So Constantine, they're talking about us. That's us, like 25 years ago. Actually, only 2 or 3 years ago, but they're drinking fancy aging. So the reason Ruby is dead is, people say Ruby. I mean, I'm fully convinced that Ruby is dead. I mean, this is like ridiculous. This room is not even full. You know, like this conference is dying. Like this language is dead. Ruby is dead because it's slower. Slow. I mean, slower than some others. Like it's slower than PHP, for example. PHP is faster, so Ruby is dead. It apparently sucks at concurrency, and there's like no work being done on concurrency. So like I'm probably going to switch to Elixir now because it's actually way cooler, and I'm going to rewrite all the applications because they have really good concurrency. Also, the problem with Ruby is it's not functional; it's object-oriented. Yeah. So this is dying. JavaScript, guys. JavaScript. Okay. And it makes you messy because Ruby is the reason why Rails exists. Okay, actually, when people ask me what is this talk about, I couldn't really give an answer. I'm still struggling to summarize the content. So I'm actually trying to point out a few things in Ruby I think are not good and are probably the reason why many people say Ruby is dead. Do you think Ruby is dead? Mats is checking his phone and Reddit to... Mats, if I've learned one thing, never read the comments on Reddit. Okay, so one of the big misunderstandings, I'm going to come to you guys now. They are way nicer than those guys. So the big misunderstanding is that people always say Ruby is easy. Yeah? So the thinking is, it is a simple programming language, everyone can learn it. Okay? So this is my friend Sam. Sam is quite cute. Like blonde hair, he's probably German or Australian, something like that. And he wants to learn programming. So he Googles and then it's like, yo, programming motherfucker is a pretty cool website. It basically tells you if you want to learn Ruby or if you want to learn language, just start coding. And that's what Sam does. So he checks out the website and he buys a t-shirt. Actually, I love that t-shirt. And my birthday is 31st of March, just saying medium or large. Red is fine. So Sam figures out that Ruby is cool, he starts to code, he learns variables and assignments, and he does ifs and else, the control flow structures, he learns a little bit about classes and objects, and doesn't really understand how to use it, but it's kind of like stuff you learn when you learn Ruby. He learns about methods, like all the basic tools you learn when you teach yourself programming, like ifs and for loops and all this kind of stuff. So he basically learned how to program, yeah? And he starts writing code, working for companies, has a job as a Rails developer. At some point he figures out, actually, I'm not really happy with what I write. I mean, I learned programming, and programming in Ruby is easy because it sets on my slide, the one with the beautiful backdrop, like the mountain. And so he wondered, what is wrong with, am I a bad developer because my code starts to get really messy? So yeah, he starts to Google, he starts to Stack Overflow. Can you use Stack Overflow as a verb? I'm not sure. And so he figures out after lots of this goddamn whiskey is still stuck in my throat. So he figures out that actually what he learned is only a tool, programming, but actually developing applications, and that doesn't matter if it's in Ruby or in Elixir or in Go or in Java, is not about using tools, it's about how to structure those tools. So basically he learns that programming is about structure. And he also learns that structure comes in abstraction, so you have to implement, you have to invent, you have to create abstractions, and it doesn't matter if they are blue, yellow, or magenta. So actually he realizes programming is way harder than I thought it is. So I thought programming is just like variables for each else, and then, so, oh, thank you, is that a vodka or something? Thank you very much. Oh, this is so nice. I've never had that in anywhere, any other conference, that people give me drinks. Well, we're here. Sam realizes, okay, programming is actually a little bit harder than just using ifs and else and for loops. It's also a little bit harder than MVC, and just having 3 layers and you just code some stuff away. Programming is hard, it is about structure, yeah? And sometimes you might even have to implement your own new abstractions, new structures, restructure stuff, and so Ruby is easy, but the structuring is still hard. And that's one of the big misunderstandings in the Ruby community or in programming in general, is people think Ruby is easy so we can just write applications, but the problem is you have to structure that application properly. And that is something you have to learn over many years, from good to co-workers and this kind of stuff. But it is one of the problems that people say Ruby is dead because it creates messy applications. But that's not Ruby's problem, that's the problem that we need to learn how to structure. I don't know why my notes keep coming up, but it's very unprofessional. Is Aaron here, by the way? He's not here. So the second thing that is really common in Ruby is we all think that gems are awesome, because they are. And so you go in Ruby, so the great thing about Ruby is you go, if you need anything, like if you need a coffee brewing algorithm, for example, it's like a thing you need every day, you go on Ruby Gems, you type it in and you will find stuff, and like Ruby Gems is like, I don't even know, billions or I have no idea, like it has like massive downloads, because that's what makes Ruby great, is the gem for the community to share code with other people. And this is still a thing. So I don't know, in 2014 we had like more, I don't know, I think this is downloads or something, but it is basically still rising. So we're still pushing gems, and that is a great thing that we all share our code, because gems give us a predefined API. We don't have to think about it. We have less work because I don't have to think, how am I going to implement or design the API for my coffee brewing algorithm? I don't have to think, which is great. And it enforces an interface with my other code. So I automatically think about boundaries with gems, and that's great. Because if you write everything yourself, you don't think as much about boundaries as you do with gems. And this is why Sam loves gems. This is Melody. Melody is Sam's co-worker. And she wonders, what if the API of the gem is not as good as it should be? For example, just an example, mind this gem, but just as an example, X a state machine is a very common gem. You can basically define, don't read this code. You can define state machines and like transitions and all this kind of stuff. It all happens on the model, for example, and it usually creates really, really messy code. And that's because gem, like ASM, is just a tool. Yeah? The author gives you that tool for you to use, but the author doesn't tell you how to structurally use that tool in an optimal way. Okay? So please, when you use gems, always think about the pros and cons, how this gem is going to help you, because not everything is shiny and great. Like I know so many projects, oh yeah, we use this gem, this gem, this gem, this gem. Like, yeah, cool. You look at the gem file, like 500 gems. Gems are great, but the way you use it has to be ideal. Okay, so just because some people tell you this gem is awesome, don't use it. Think about how they structurally improve your architecture. This is funny, the P. Oh, no, here we go. Another thing about Ruby is that we always think that public APIs are a fantastic thing. Yeah? Ruby is object-oriented, right, Matt? And so we care about public APIs a lot, yeah? So we have lots of, actually we don't have a lot of objects. Usually in Rails apps, for example, we have like 1 or 2 or 3 objects and with like many public methods, because apparently that's like a thing to do. I kind of saw the Rails code, I saw how people write Rails code, and I'm like, okay, so apparently public methods are awesome. Yeah? So in Rails it's really common, you have one object with many methods. For example, here's just basically empty comment model. Yeah, we all have written active record base. Who has not written active record base code yet? You. And what's that? That's great. So this 3-line class has 631 public methods, and I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. Yeah. So someone said objects with lots of public methods are awesome. And this is the result. Aaron, I was asking where you are. What happened? What happened to our friendship? Okay, so 631 public methods on one object are not great. That is, pardon my French, shit design. Yeah? And it is especially horrible because if you want to deprecate, as an author, if you want to deprecate those methods, it is a pain in the A, because you have to like worry about, oh, if I deprecate this method, I also have to deprecate that method, blah, blah, blah. So it's like really hard to refine or renew the API without breaking old stuff, because you have so many public methods. You can call those public methods in the wrong order as well, like I have an example about this. And those massive objects with lots of internal state, because they have to be called in a certain order, those methods and all this kind of stuff. So those massive objects are really bad for concurrency. Here's a really simple example. So I create this comment class we just had. I just instantiated. I assign a body, for example, like a pretty cool, lol, whatever, like a typical Reddit comment. I don't read them. And then I call valid, and the object will tell me true or false, like this is a valid comment or this is not a valid comment. And then hours later, what I see in every Rails app, I use this object again, assign some more values and call valid again. So this is like typical Rails code you see in many apps, and it's completely unnecessary design, because this model doesn't need 631 public methods to implement a certain workflow. It provides you those tools, and we use them the wrong way. So you're not gonna need to call a validation 5 times. You need this at one certain entry point. Yeah, but in Rails we get taught to like use public methods all the way down through the stack. So the solution to this, and this is again like something people criticize about Ruby. Ruby like is really terrible. People write messy code. The solution is to use something more like functional objects, which is totally possible in Ruby. Yeah. So this is an example is the way validations work in Dry is you have an object that implements a validation. You just call this object. It doesn't even have a public API except for the call method. Yeah. So this is a single entry point that does one thing, and you don't have to have 631 public methods on a model. Or the way we do it in Trailblazer, I mean, look at this beautiful sunset. Oh God, it's so beautiful. Trailblazer.to, Trailblazer.to, Trailblazer.to. So in Trailblazer we have this concept of operations. Again, it's just an object that implements part of your business logic. And the only public method is call again. So we don't have a public API, we just allow call. So this object doesn't even allow you to do anything with it. It doesn't have 631 public methods. And this is a way to make your code kind of bulletproof by reducing what you give the user. Okay, so a common misunderstanding in Ruby is that public APIs are cool. They are not cool. Try to limit them as much as you can, because you have to deprecate them at some point. In callable objects, for example, there is no state to maintain. You can have internal state, but the user doesn't have to think about the state. And also by having callable objects without any public API, you think about the workflow in a completely different way. You don't think about a model being passed to like 100,000 user layers. You have single entry points that structure your workflow in a way better way. I would love to give a presentation about this and talk 5 hours, but we can't. Yeah, and also a callable object is super easy to test. The model we just saw with 631 methods is not easy to test. It's so great to be here. I would actually enjoy being at the beach, but yeah. Okay. So Ruby has a lot of cool features since version 1.8. For example, very useful refinement. But what's actually useful is keyword arguments. I love them so much. I use them all the time. Great job. We have like amazing features like UTF-8. And we also have the great lonely operator, safe navigator, also known as the Keanu Reeves operator. So this operator, I don't know if you've seen it, it basically helps you to have a chain of calls on an object that returns an object, that returns an object, that returns an object, and so on. So instead of this code, you can, so the first attempt was inactive support, let's even try. So instead of having this like large chain, you have a little bit of a shorter chain, actually not the worst idea. And then someone said, hey, let's introduce a new operator. It allows you to do that shorter, which is absolutely, wow. So the Keanu Reeves operator was a great thing, and Sam of course loves it because it's like, hey cool, I have like a new feature I can use, and it's great because it's a new feature, so it must be great. And Melody is skeptical about it because, yeah, so there's like opinions about this new operator, and I mean, an operator is always great, but it is not necessarily, doesn't mean that it's like used in the right way. So instead of introducing an operator that makes it easy to write messy code, you can, so this is, the operator itself is a great thing, but the way we use it is wrong, and I've seen it already in terrible pieces of code where I wanted to run away. So, according to Aaron Patterson, he said that a few years ago Ruby doesn't need a decorator library. I could not disagree more. What we need in this case, instead of this operator, is something like an explicit decorator mechanism, and it could be built into Ruby. Yeah? So an example in one of the Trailblazer gems is that you define a decorator and you define the structure of this chain instead of letting the user implicitly do that with the operator. We do it in an explicit way. So yeah, whatever this code like basically allows you to say to decorate the user object and then call a method large something, for example. Yeah, and an idea was that Ruby could provide decorators out of the box. Like I just invented this operator, the concurrency operator or whatever. So what I'm trying to say is that a feature, features are always great, but features are like public API. They don't necessarily help you to improve your code. Yeah. So I would love to see more efforts in Ruby where we introduce architectural features like a decorator built into like a nested decorator, because we already have decorators in Ruby, built into the language itself. Yeah. So a feature in Ruby is not necessarily a feature you should use. My favorite example is extend. We're talking about dynamic runtime environments, part 1. So let's say we have an object melody.new, and I call the method sing, and it returns la la la. Yeah. So and then hours later, I call melody.extend and extend this object at runtime with a module, for example, drunken. And then suddenly melody has a method burp, a method when I call it. And that's it's not only disgusting, it is incredibly dangerous if you change your objects at runtime, okay? Because what we have is a clean object that allows us to sing. Then someone needs the verb method and they just extend this object. So they can call verb on this beautiful object. And what happens afterwards is you have a dirty, polluted object that can do two things when it was supposed to do one thing, okay? And that leads to messy code and very hard to trace bugs, okay? And this is a feature, you are not going to need that. Don't use extend. Actually, I came up with a new thing, yabo nuts. It means you are better off not using that stuff. So extend is one of those examples. Please don't use it at runtime. It's just great. So instead of extending objects at runtime, you can basically just decorate them at this specific point, and you don't have to inject any logic. You just have an explicit object for the verb method, for example. Yeah. So don't use extend when you want to have a good sleep. Always remember yellow nuts. Let's talk about monkeys. Monkey patching. And the dynamic runtime environment, part 2. What I also love about Ruby and you should not be using is monkey patching. These slides, it's so annoying. So let's say I require a gem called melody. And this gives me a class melody with the method sing. Yeah, really simple code. And I instantiate, I call sing, la la la, super easy. Yeah? And let's say I also use a gem drunken melody. Because someone thought gems are cool, let's use it. Hours later, I require a file drunken/melody extensions. And this file is changing my runtime code. So I call melody.sing, and instead of la la la, it suddenly says blah, 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 blah. And that's because only because I added a gem to my application. Yeah? That is weird, and you have no idea what's going on. And everyone in this room has run into this problem that a gem overrides stuff at runtime by using monkey patching. Again, this is something we don't need, okay? Please don't do that, and don't extend stuff at runtime. It will break your code at some point. You're better off not using it. Actually, I've never used monkey patching and extend in my whole life. Can you believe that? You're not believing it because it's not cheap. Another feature we should totally not use to that extent is const missing. I actually want to rename it to const missing because I think Constantine deserves more reputation, more status actually. So basically, if you talk about constants, please always talk about Constantine from now on. Yeah. And since we should not use constants, you will have to talk about Constantine. Aaron, do you like yourself on this slide? Okay, so quickly about const missing. It's like a feature I basically want to erase from Ruby code, and I have good news about this, by the way. So what const missing does is it basically allows you to load files and constants at runtime. That is something really dangerous again. So I have this const missing method, th, defined on a class, and then when I do stuff like Sam calling drunken, and drunken is not yet loaded, this method will get triggered and help me to load this file at runtime. At runtime. Everything that gets loaded at runtime will break at some point. Yeah? So const missing is nothing you should be using. But unfortunately, this is something we have, it's a great tool, but people misuse it. Which leads me to my absolute favorite thing in Ruby, autoloading. I know that Mats loves autoloading. The thing with autoloading is the same concept as basically const missing and autoloading kind of overlap each other. implement each other. I have no idea, I've never looked at the code. So autoloading is, instead of having to require a file manually, I want to remind you, every programming language on this planet requires us to load files explicitly, except for Ruby. Ruby does that automatically if you want. So instead of requiring a file manually, you can say, I actually don't know if this is the right syntax, don't try it at home. You can basically say, if someone wants the constant melody drunken, autoload it for him or her. And this is a feature overused in Rails to the max, and it is breaking everywhere. And we don't like breaking stuff, so I would like to have autoloading removed conceptually. So I talked to Mats at Europa. Mats had this great idea that Mats always has great visions. He's great. Like he has a vision, he has an idea. And he just had the idea, what if we just re-implement autoload instead of doing some magic? We just require that file at runtime, which is great. I want that. Please can we have it in Ruby? Yeah, so that's a simplification because no one needs autoload. It's not like to save memory or to make it more convenient or whatever. Like no one needs to load your files at compile time. Done. Because I had so many cases where I would run something in test development environment and it is great, you push it to production and something breaks, or something is like the wrong method because some module was included in the wrong order or something like that. It is really annoying and dangerous. So the new feature in Ruby 2.5, the autoloading removed. This is me yesterday night preparing this talk, so I think you get the idea. Okay, the kind of last thing I want to rant about, because I'm not here to rant, I'm here to inspire, is actually what I'm talking about. Respond to. Another feature that is very, very dangerous. So Respond to basically allows you to ask an object, do you have method ABC defined or not? So you can basically introspect an object and ask the object for its behavior, instead of assuming an object to have behavior, the way it should be done. And the problem with Respond to is that it is used everywhere in Rails. Yeah? So for example, in like the form builders, this is a snippet from the Rails form builders, they have Respond to, right, they have it in this file 11 times. So 11 times an object is not treated as an object is treated as something that gives information about itself, and then it's treated as different objects. And the problem with Respond to is that it's great for Rails, and Eric Pedersen and I had a long discussion about this on Twitter, actually not long because he just stopped talking to me. I'm not good enough or something. So he said, like, I don't understand what's the problem with Respond to. It's a great tool. You can use it like it just like it figures out what kind of object do I have, and then I can treat that object in a different way. And that is completely the wrong approach. Because if you're a gem author and you have to deal with Respond to from other gems, it is a nightmare because you can't rely on the way your objects are being treated. In my code, I pass an object into a method, and this method will treat this object as object A. And it doesn't figure out, are you A, or B, or C, or D? It treats it as A, and if it's not an A, it breaks. And that's great, because you don't have magical working code, you have explicit breaking exceptions. Exceptions are awesome. Okay, so Respond to is something you should not be using at all in your code. Is okay, yeah? You can ask an object, are you type A, but don't ask it for its behavior. You assume the behavior, and if it doesn't have the behavior, it will break, and that's great. Respond to something I have not used in a single line of my code in 45 years of Ruby. Actually, I've used Respond to in one single gem. If you find it, I will pay you all drinks tonight. Okay, so another common thing in Ruby, and the problem I see is that when you have a problem, you want to create a solution. And the mentality in Ruby is just do it yourself. So it's always this do-it-yourself thinking. Like either you use a gem and you misuse, or you want to rewrite everything yourself. And what I have a lot in my project is like people telling me, yeah, we looked at your code and we didn't understand the gem, and so we rewrote it. We basically stole all your ideas, but we rewrote it because we didn't understand your implementation. And the thing is that we all know that if people do stuff and they are not really good at what they do, it might break things, okay? Like we have that happen in history a lot. And so people who are not good at doing stuff shouldn't be doing that stuff. And so just do it yourself is mostly not the best thing to do, especially when it comes to architecture. Yeah, and so the outcome of this mentality is that we have like 100,000 state machine gems, for example. I know that if you look up state machines, there's like 16 different implementations for the state machine in Ruby. Why? Like why? Like this, we can have one that's great and that's maintained by 15 people or 16 instead of having 60 projects maintained by one. Yeah, this is like I wouldn't even be able to tell you which implementation is the best because many people thought just do it yourself. And I know this fascination when you rewrite something or when you create your own gem and you do like bundle new whatever, you create a new gem. This is like a great feeling, but the thinking should more be let someone else implement something, and if it's great, use it. You don't have to understand every internal code. Like I use dry RP everywhere. I have no idea what they are doing in this code, but that's the whole point about object orientation, that you hide implementation details from the user, okay? So I don't want to understand everything that is written in dry RP. I don't want to understand, I'm hallucinating. So the reason is that trust the gem author that this person is doing a good job. You don't have to understand all the implications. The thing is, there's many more dialects in Ruby coming up. People use Ruby in a really functional way, for example. Accept it, use it, be happy with it. You don't have to understand why people use this and that. Okay? And this brings me to some topic which is actually my favorite topic to talk about. Service objects. I hear laughing in the audience, this is great. So this is Sam, after a few months working as a Rails developer, he wrote some code, and it's like a typical Rails controller with like authorization code, model persistence code, validation code, callback code, notification code, everything, blah, 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 like a huge chunk of code sitting in a Rails controller. Don't look at this code, it's not good. Then Melody joins him one day and says, hey, how do you actually test this code? Like, are you actually seriously writing HTTP tests to test the controller? Because in Rails, the problem, for example, is you cannot test a controller in a unit test. You can't say controller new and then call the create method, the one with all the code, and then assume and then assert side effects. You have to run an HTTP test. And that is kind of like not great to run integration tests if you want to test Ruby code. Yeah? And so the solution is, of course, service objects. Like service objects will fix everything you have. Like if you have problems in your life, service object. And actually, I forgot to put this into the field. And so Sam goes on Google and not on Reddit and looks for service object. And he finds a framework called Trailblazer, because Trailblazer apparently is an extension to the basic MVC pattern with new abstractions. We all know that abstractions are great in Magenta. And Sam doesn't want to use it because he prefers to do it myself. Like he's great, he can write that himself. He doesn't need someone to give him a framework. Okay, so he starts to code his own service object implementation. He goes to his weekend maison residence for 5 weeks, inspired, thinks about how to write the service object. Comes back to work with a long hipster beard. I'm very jealous because I don't grow a beard. And so after like 5 months of working on his service object, he presents Melody his result. It is a class with one method called call. That's the service implementation. It's great, it's stable, it doesn't have side effects, it's amazing. So you basically call this service object by, you call this service object by literally calling the call method, and there's no side effects, no state to maintain. Sam is awesome, so he created one of 100,000 different service object implementations. So his controller is basically only calling the service object now. This is amazing, Sam, you're doing a great job. but they're not happy, so they're going on Google again. Actually, there should be an image with Google, but yeah, 1 a.m. So they go back on Google, they try, like, this service object was cool, but isn't there anything like better? Like, can we use something existing? Again, they find trailblazer.to, HTTP, ://trailblazer.to. And Trailblazer gives them service object implementation and additional abstraction layers, which is great. It also gives them a new file structure that integrates with Rails. There should be some elevator music down in the background, so it's like a shopping. And so what Trailblazer gives them is a service object implementation that you don't have to think about. The service object implementation gives them a way to structure the control flow and all this kind of stuff. So they basically have an existing implementation for a service object that allows them to structure their code in a railway-oriented way. Yes? So you can have like so you basically arrange your code in steps, and you can have steps on the right side, and if one of those steps fails, it goes to the left side. So you basically have if, else, blah, 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 managed by a framework. So Sam is actually using a framework for service objects, which is the opposite of weird. It's actually great. Yeah, so the service object in Trailblazer, called operation, gives you an implementation for free without urging you to rewrite service objects 100,000 times in your application. Yeah? And that's a really nice semantics for you pass around state, there's no internal state, and so on and so on and so on. I could talk about this for 100 years, but I don't want to. I want to go to the beach actually. It's really easy to test the service object. You just call it in a test, so you have a unit test for your business logic and not an HTTP test, which is great. Oh, wrong button. So you basically have functional objects, and I think Piotr, if he's going to arrive, is going to talk about functional objects in a few hours or minutes, basically. But what I'm trying to sell you is you should all use Trailblazer because it's the most advanced business logic framework. It's great. My last chunk of information I want to throw at you is enterprise. So I'm not talking about the Starship Enterprise. I have to admit I never watched Star Trek, and I also never watched Game of Thrones. I also don't have a Netflix account. Now you know all the things about me you should be knowing. I want to talk about that there's fear of enterprise in Ruby. Like everything that is enterprise is automatically bad. Oh God, you're so Java, and you know. I mean, when you mention enterprise in Ruby, people will slap your face or they will run away. Yeah? So the planning and stuff is not cool in Ruby. You have to implement something. And if you look at enterprise on Wikipedia, it says basically enterprise software is something to satisfy the needs of an organization, not a single user. So basically, all of you are writing enterprise applications. So stop resisting and saying enterprise is bad. The thing is that this fear of enterprise comes from the Java world. Yeah? In Java, they have like certifications for enterprise architects and blah 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 and this and that. And you pay like $10,000, and then you're like a certified Microsoft engineer. And you come up with that huge diagrams that define like classes and relations. And this is like when we think of enterprise, we think of this, yeah, like over engineering to the max, like factories calling factories, calling factories, calling factories. This is like what we think is enterprise. Of course, this is all like this is all crap. Like enterprise is nothing but writing complex software. So please stop resisting the idea that we all write enterprise, yeah? Because we want to get to a point where Ruby is accepted as a real stable language that creates rock solid software. I want to get that. This is why I'm speaking here, yeah? So, and we start to be enterprise friendly, not just assuming that MVC is going to be the solution to all our problems, because our software is way more complex than that, yeah? And like, for example, enterprise is not just adding a state machine to some model and you have some state transitions. Enterprise means you design workflows in, for example, in BPMN, like you design the entire application workflow before you code it. And that is actually a great thing, and I'm doing this at the moment for the German police because they have massive workflows in their application, in Ruby, by the way, enterprise. So we design stuff in BPMN. BPMN is the business model process notation. You might think, what the fuck happened to Nick? Is he actually talking about enterprise stuff, like Java stuff? I am. It's great. So BPMN helps me BPMN helps me to structure complex workflows. You know, like in a blog, you like add blog posts and moderate blog posts. If moderator says no, send it to the queue, blah blah blah, and so on. This kind of stuff. We can't just implement that in Ruby. You want to plan that ahead and then implement it. And the cool thing about that amazing new framework called Trailblazer.to is that Trailblazer has a new extension that basically allows you to create those workflows graphically, yeah, in a web app. So software as a service is a big thing. Also enterprise. And I mean, like, it uses BPMN. BPMN is amazing, and it has been around for many, many years, and it's well documented, and like thousands of people have worked on it, and it works. Okay, like it just allows you to define really complex stuff in a nice, readable way. I read this somewhere that BPMN like it makes people understand, like it makes idiots understand software, and it also makes coders understand software. It's it's up to you to figure out who's the idiot. So what we do, for example, in the police job is that we define the entire workflows in BPMN, you know, with states and activities and all this kind of stuff. You can look that up. And then Trailblazer basically allows us to implement those activities and those processes and everything in in objects. Yeah, I know. And so Trailblazer takes care of the control flow, you take care of the implementation. And I'm sorry, but I feel really enterprise doing this, and it's actually really cool. And I started to realize, hey, enterprise is actually a cool thing. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to have like factory calls factory calls factory calls factory. It's actually like allowing me to work as a professional software engineer. So please embrace this thought instead of refusing to be an enterprise Ruby developer. Enterprise is awesome. Please tweet about it and hashtag me or whatever. So yeah, and I know I did the wrong thing. We now have another state machine gem, but that's fine. Okay, so embrace the idea of enterprise, embrace the idea of using ideas from other people. I don't use those horrible implementations, but the idea of BPMN, for example, is amazing. I heard something ringing, so I guess I'm running out of time. So my boring summary is a boring list of points. We have lots of tools in Ruby, but not all of them are good, so don't use the tools I was mentioning, only use enterprise. The great thing is what I learned from Mats is mRuby does not have all those terrible tools, like autoloading. This is amazing. I want to switch to mRuby. I have big hopes in mRuby. Mats, great. And also, we are in paradise. Yeah, don't forget that. It's a great place. We should all go to the beach. Because we have a charismatic leader with a vision. I'm going to do that. Thank you.
Hello. Yeah, we just have time for something.
No. Please, no questions.
Well, because of that pace, we do have time for some questions.
Is there any enterprise questions? No. Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. No, he's actually asking.
So I found 4 lengths of yours Only counting it being in lib.
Which one?
Only counting when response is for the lib, because we call response to the last in your stack helpers.
Which gem is that?
At Potomo, stateful, Uber, RSpec, self, and raw Rails.
See, it's code to glue my code to Rails. That's when you need to respond to. But yeah, what do you want to drink? No, presenting doesn't mean you're telling the truth. Hashtag Trump.
Well, I actually have a couple of questions. Number one, is whiskey really that effective?
Is whiskey what?
Whiskey, is it really that effective? Or
It actually makes you do great stuff, yeah. But it has to be smoky whiskey. And by the way, my birthday is 31st of March. So I got enough heroic or something like that.
Okay,
Thanks.
On serious matters, since you've been mentioning Rails a lot, what's your thoughts about active support concern?
My thoughts about which gem?
Active support concern. So it's a feature under
Okay,
active support.
active support concern is the worst feature ever since the introduction of modules in Ruby, because active support concern hides the fact that you are having a monolith object with lots of implementation. It hides that by spreading those implementations to different files. So basically, you still have a massive object with a massive API, but Rails kind of makes it easy to think that you're using real abstractions, but you're still using one massive abstraction instead of smaller objects. I love smaller objects, so I don't even think about concerns. I actually don't know anyone using it, to be honest. Do you want to be my friend? Then just tell me you're not using concerns.
No, I actually hate it myself. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.